Welcome to Talkin' Waukesha, the podcast where every conversation springs to life.
I'm Andrew Adamicki.
And I'm Anthony Terrell.
And we're your hosts for today's journey into the heart of Waukesha.
Whether you're a local or just passing through, join us as we explore the stories, people, and hidden gems that make Waukesha truly special.
From community events to personal anecdotes, we're here to bring you the pulse of our vibrant town.
So grab your favorite beverage, sit back, and let's dive into another episode of Talkin' Waukesha,
where every conversation springs to life. Good morning, everyone. Today we are joined by Joanna Adamicki, the Special Events Coordinator for the City of Waukesha. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Excited to be here.
So while we're just getting started, why don't you tell us a little about yourself and about what you do at the city?
So I've been with the city for 12 years in this position. As you mentioned, Special Events Coordinator. So I have the privilege of planning all of the city larger scale events, parades, fireworks, concerts, that sort of thing. So that's all the fun stuff.
Yeah, that's a lot of fun stuff. I mean, so as you kind of mentioned, just kind of a handful of those events. What goes into making those events happen?
So it really varies from event to event. Some of the events we've had in the city around for a long time. So it's really just kind of enhancing those events and making things kind of new so that people are still excited to attend. Other events that we create, the newer events, take a lot of thought, and there's a huge process into just coming up with the ideas and working on contracts and finding the people to participate in the event, promotion, all of those fun things, safety protocols, security, all of those things. So lots of things.
Yeah, it's a lot of small pieces that go into one event.
Yes, for sure.
So I'm guessing there's not a typical day, but what does your typical day kind of look like?
So you'd be right. It's not a typical day. It just depends on where we are in the season of events. There are 40 event days that we have now in the city that I directly work on. So there are a couple of months, I guess, in the year that I use for planning, but otherwise we're executing. So it's things like managing the contracts, reaching out to the vendors, reminding people where they need to be and when, going over safety protocols. Maybe there's an interview somewhere in there, sending out press releases, checking advertising. It's all of those things every day. We're working ahead all the way into 2025 already.
Wow.
And does a lot of that kind of, you can just copy and paste and just redo the same things? Or is it you kind of have to start all the way from scratch every single time?
Not all the way from scratch, but every event we do review to see what went well and what could be improved. And of course, we want to change things up a little bit and add to them, make them a little bit different, just so that people stay excited and want to come and see what we've got in store.
Sure.
Yeah, one of my favorite things of all the events is basically like you get to the summertime and it's like, oh, there's a day of the week where you have an event every single, well, not during the same week, but it's like, oh, I can do this on Monday, this on Tuesday, this on Wednesday, and it's all nicely spread out so you really can look forward to something else. But out of all the events that the city hosts, which one is your favorite to coordinate? And I know it's like picking your favorite kid and all, but
I would say that's a pretty hard thing to determine, just because if I didn't love them all, I don't think someone else wouldn't enjoy them. So it really, I love them all for different reasons, and they all take up different parts of my brain, I guess. But I really don't have a favorite. They're just such a wide variety of them, and they involve so many different moving pieces, and we work towards different goals for each of the events. So I can't pick one favorite.
Do you have any ones that's kind of your favorite to attend for various reasons?
Again, I really like them all. I wouldn't do it if I didn't love them,
That's
right?
Fair, yeah.
So that I have to say. But some of the bigger events that we do, the Independence Day celebration, the fireworks are a lot of fun. The parade is always awesome, and seeing everybody out there for that. Oktoberfest, another one of our big events that's just a lot of fun to plan and a lot of fun to experience. And then, of course, Jamboree, a long-standing city event that involves a lot of moving pieces and partners and fun activities at a time of year when there's not a whole lot to do.
Right, and that's one of the greatest things. I mean, having not done much with municipal events like prior to kind of working for the city, Jamboree is just a fantastic opportunity of like, yeah, it's just kind of a lull in this of the season. You know, get coming out of Christmas and the winter holidays, and it's just like, what can we do to get people out and about and keep them engaged? And yeah, Jamboree is just a great opportunity for that.
Yeah, well, the city has a lot of great partners that work to put that event on, and we've been able to offer upwards of 45 activities over those 10 days, and almost everything's free. So if you can't find something, you're not looking.
You have to look real hard to find something that you don't want.
So would you prefer, I know you said you don't prefer one event or the other, but at least for the seasons, is there ones that you're more excited for, the more the summer ones, or if it is more the winter ones?
Well, I prefer to be outside in the summer. I will say that. Jamboree sometimes gives us some challenging weather to have to deal with
definitely.
it. So, you know, when we have the 40-degree swings in 10 days, that is a little tough. So I do enjoy the summer events. I love Tribute Tuesday. Usually we've got, knock on wood, great weather for those, and just great crowds and music, and it's just a lot of fun. So I'm really hard-pressed, honestly, to say that I love one over another, because, again, if I didn't love it, I wouldn't expect someone else to. So our department works really hard to make sure we're putting forward something that is appealing to a lot of people.
Definitely.
And that's something too that I think that that you guys do really well, because at least for me, in the winter, it always feels like there's not much to do. Summer, there's always something to do outside. Sure. There's always whatnot. But with all the events that there are in the winter, it really does make it so that there are plenty of things to do in the winter, and it doesn't feel, it doesn't feel like we have that lull of the cold seasons. Like, just because it's cold doesn't mean we can't have fun and be outside doing things.
Right.
It's very much that all year is event season. I mean, I'd caught myself once saying like, "Oh, summer's event season." Like, no, it really is all year. Like, there's always something going on in Waukesha.
For sure. I mean, it's April, and we're talking Jamboree 2025 already. So we just came off of the Trailbreaker marathon, and there's a half, a 10, and a 5. There's a walk. So that's something late winter, early spring that you can take part in. So really, there's things all year long.
Right. Yeah. If anything, there's like maybe a 4-week gap, and that's the biggest gap in between any events.
Right.
Which has got to be kind of nice for you every now and then to get a little break.
Well, that's heavy planning time when we have those gaps in actual execution. So we need to have those times too, just to get everything together.
So do you always? So you're very passionate about the events in Waukesha, and it seems like very passionate about making sure the people of Waukesha are finding something that they need to do. Did you always want to be a special events coordinator, or is this something that you just kind of fell into and kind of fell in love with?
So I didn't grow up wanting to be a special events coordinator, but I always loved planning. I remember that going back to being a kid. It was just something that I enjoyed doing, and I think there is that little bit of control in me that likes having that part. But then just seeing everybody have a great time is really fulfilling. And so that's, I think, what I really enjoy about my position. Didn't always want to do it, but I kind of fell into it, and I look at it as marketing and promotion for the city as well. So that's a important piece, so that while the residents feel comfortable and have something to do, it's a great way for people from outside the area to understand what a great place Waukesha is.
Yeah, I think I always view the events that we hold as great tourism pieces. Of like, while it's not our event, like Friday Night Live, we talk with people, and it's like, oh yeah, I'm coming from Delafield, I'm coming from Milwaukee, and
sure,
it's bringing people from all around for great events. I mean, Tribute Tuesday, I know there's people that are coming from all over.
Right.
I mean, I talked with a gentleman and his wife. They said, "Oh, what's going on here tonight?" Like, "Oh, I think it was the Motley Crue one a couple of years back," and I was like, "Oh, we didn't know about that. I guess we're gonna stick around." And then just give them the list of like, "Oh, here's what you can do downtown. Hang out and come back around like 6:00 or 7:00, and you're all ready to go."
Yeah, we know that we have people coming in from well outside the area of Waukesha. And I think that's just a testament to the city, and it's just very welcoming for people, and who knows, maybe they'll end up residents one day.
Definitely.
So do you have any stories of events that kind of stand out in your mind, whether it be this on the back end, maybe everything went wrong, but it still ended up great, or if it was everything went perfectly, or anything crazy? Like, I feel like out of all 12 years, there's got to be something,
There
right?
are some crazy stories for sure of events that stand out. I will say when we brought in the moving wall, that's probably the most memorable event that I was a part of. And it was a long time coming when we started working on it. We had applied to bring in the wall in 2019. And I had understood from other communities that it takes a while in the application process, like you have to apply a couple times. Well, we were granted application or getting the wall after our first application. So that was exciting, but also shortened our window for prep. And then we were doing a lot of the legwork to prepare for that. And then, of course, in 2020, COVID happened. So that delayed us by another year. But there was so much preparation for that event and so many organizations that took part. And we had over 300 volunteers helping. It was just an amazing event to be a part of, from the opening ceremony in torrential rain to a beautiful weekend with 25,000 people coming through the city and waiting hours to visit the wall. It was really a special time in the city.
Yeah, that was very cool. I mean, I think I just started with the city around then, and just seeing how big of an impact it was. Like, first I'm like, oh, they're bringing in a wall. I don't quite get it. But then seeing like veterans standing out in the torrential downpour, you know,
Yeah, absolutely.
Knowing that this is what they wanted to do and what they needed to do to pay their respects, and then seeing the big impact on the surrounding area. I mean, multiple statewide. I know there's people that were driving in from Minnesota and Iowa to come see it.
Yes. And it was interesting with the opening ceremony. We had talked about, did we cancel, because the weather was pretty significant. But it just didn't seem appropriate because of who we were honoring and what the Vietnam veterans had gone through. And they were willing to stand there, so why wouldn't the rest of us stand there?
They had seen far worse, I imagine, weather-wise. And
that's right. So it started out, but it almost seemed appropriate that it rained during that time. And then it was a beautiful weekend.
Yeah.
So that was probably the most memorable event I've done. As far as you'd asked about some of the backstories, when I first started here in 2012 was a drought year. And I started in April, and in July, obviously fireworks time. And so the city, we worked really hard. The fire department worked super hard to try and help us out with getting the area wet and making sure that fireworks could happen. We did attempt to do them. But the conditions were just too dry. And so we couldn't have the fireworks that year. But out of that cloud, I guess the silver lining was there was some funding available because we didn't shoot off the fireworks. And Operation Honor then was born. So that event was created because we had that funding, and we were able to put together a Veterans Day event that we still hold every Veterans Day, and that's our event where we bring in a speaker and we have a military band perform, and then we have dinner for everyone who attends. So it's another great way that the city has been able to honor the veterans, and now that event has its own support, and we're able to continue that.
Is there anything new that's going to come out of Operation Honor for this year that you know of yet?
I don't know yet. Obviously, we'll have a new keynote speaker, so we're still working on that piece. We did do some things kind of along the way. You know, COVID, we couldn't meet, so we created a drive for comfort items that at that time we were sending overseas to military. And this last year, we collected items for the VA hospital. And so that has kind of stuck since COVID because people really want to support it. And with everyone's donations last year, we were able to bring in about $10,000 worth of things to the VA hospital.
That's fantastic,
so really is amazing. This community just so supports everything that we do in the way of events, and it's great to see all the people out.
Kind of on that line of events, I know there's a lot of them. I think you mentioned there's 40 event days themselves, but what events is the city hosting this year? What can people start looking forward to?
So we've got lots of things coming up. Our first event, well, we just finished up Trailbreaker, so I do want to mention that. If there are runners and walkers out in the community, you want to watch for that next April. But we'll start off the season with Memorial Day. There is a service that the city takes part in at Veterans Park. There's a river service and then another service at Cutler Park. The Allied Veterans of Waukesha put that event on. and it's a great way to recognize the veterans. So that's kind of our summer kickoff to events. We've got Tribute Tuesday happening. That's the second Tuesday, June, July, August, and September. So that has become really popular. We get several thousand people out in the park, and it's always amazing to see. June is an Eric Clapton tribute. July is a Justin Timberlake tribute. So those will be fun. And then in August and September, we're going to move that concert over to Frame Park and work out of the amphitheater.
Which I think will be a cool venue for it still.
I feel like I haven't seen many like concerts there.
Right. So we're going to try that out and see how that goes and how that venue kind of holds everyone. So August will be a Y2K tribute, so all your favorite songs from the 2000s. And then in September, it's a Foreigner tribute. So that'll be fun. Lots of food trucks. We're bringing in food trucks. There'll be a beer vendor there, Raised Grain. And it's always a good time.
Yeah, I mean, I love the concept of Tribute Tuesday. Of like bringing these eclectic bands, you're going to find something for someone in one of these. It may not be for everyone, may not be for everyone.
Sure.
Personally, I don't care for Taylor Swift, but that one I heard
was one of our biggest ones.
That there were, I think, was it 5,000 people potentially?
There were about 4,000 people at Taylor Swift.
Wow.
Our biggest concert was the Queen concert, and that had about 5,000 people. So
and the pictures just from the Taylor Swift one is just fantastic, seeing how many people were out there having such a good time. And it's such a cool event because it's tribute bands who maybe just kind of they kind of just play the small stages at Summerfest or playing small stages at bars, but getting them out and highlighting them is really kind of a cool thing too, because most of them are local bands for the most part.
Some of them are. Some of them are local. We do have to go a little bit outside the area sometimes, bring in bands from Chicago. The Y2K group is out of Chicago. The Justin Timberlake group is actually out of Los Angeles. So
wow.
They're traveling the country, and so then they're in our area at that time, so we're able to snag them.
Very cool.
So
awesome.
It's, a nice eclectic mix, and I know not everyone loves all the bands, but it's great to see the different crowds and how the crowds are different based on the music.
Yeah, I have a strong feeling that you're going to have a very different crowd for the Eric Clapton versus the Justin Timberlake one.
Of course.
Just a little bit of a hunch.
But that's the good part,
Yeah, exactly.
Then they get to see the park and the city and everything that we have to offer.
Any other events you wanted to highlight?
Yes, so lots of other things. We've got Movies in the Park will be starting up in June, too. That's always a good time. We bring in some activities ahead of the park that are themed towards the movies. There'll be the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle movie will be one of the first ones that we play, and you'll get to do backyard ninja activities in the park.
So I have just heard about Backyard Ninja basically like 2 council meetings ago. Could you explain that for anyone who hasn't heard of Backyard Ninja?
I'm not aware of what this is.
So it's like obstacles that you can probably set up in your yard, but we've got a group that actually provides a class through our department, and you'll jump and swing and toss and do all kinds of
kind of like American Ninja Warrior on TV.
Yeah, a little bit,
but a little
scaled down, a
little more family friendly.
We won't be throwing anyone in a pool or anything like that.
That's not as fun.
But,
maybe ideas for next year.
For sure,
especially if it's July.
Yeah, of course. And in July, we're showing the Polar Express, so we'll be doing a little Christmas in July. Then Santa, I think, will be stopping by. Ooh. Checking up on those kids halfway through the year to see how that's going. Good time to check in. Yeah. That's right. And then our last movie in August is Wonka. And Willy Wonka will actually be in the park with us to talk with the kids, and we'll do some crafts. So that's movies. We've got our Civic Band concert series. That's been going on for 80 years in the city. So that's really phenomenal. That's on Thursday nights at 8 o'clock for an hour, also at Cutler. And Jazz at Cutler Park will be back this year. It's our second year for that. We've got 3 concerts in July that'll be happening. So,
and I'm interested in that first one. It's let's see, Jack Grassel. Hopefully I'm saying that right. And Jill Jensen's tribute to Les Paul and Mary Ford. It just seems cool? Super fitting to have a tribute at the Les Paul amphitheater.
Absolutely, very. A great way to kick off the season and very fitting. So that's Jazz. Of course, we've got our city's Independence Day celebration. So we'll kick that off actually on July 3rd at Lowell Park We've got a beer garden that we'll be doing. We have lots and lots of food trucks coming in this year. And the band, The Decade, will be playing in the beer garden. They're kind of cool because I think 3 of the band members grew up in Waukesha and actually in that Lowell Park area, so they're super
Very
excited
neat.
to.
So it's really like
to play.
As hometown as it can get, almost.
Absolutely. So we've got a great fireworks display that day, and then the parade is on the 4th. And the parade theme is the decades. So we hope to see all of the parade entries exhibiting the decades throughout the years. Got some great floats and bands and some new performers that'll be coming in. So lots of great fun there too.
And for the parade, are we still doing the bike parade this year? And then if someone wanted to participate as a float or a walking, is there still time to sign up for that?
There is still time. They can certainly fill out an application until the end of May. And the kids, though, if they want to ride in the parade, we get lots of kids that ride their bikes, or mom and dad come with the stroller. They can just show up that day at the state office building to the children's area lineup section, and we'll get them in line for the parade. It's always a good time.
Yeah, I've growing up, I've seen bike parades plenty of times, and I love that this is a bike parade that's integrated with the actual parade itself and not its own kind of own thing.
Yep, we like to put the kids up at the front so they can get through the parade and then watch the rest of it with their families, and everyone seems to have a great time.
Oh, good. So all the candy's going to be gone by the time if they're not on the
That's
front.
right. That's right.
Having driven in the last parade, no one runs out of candy, really.
Surprisingly,
I mean, it seems like the basis is at least 20 bags, and that gets you pretty good through most of it. But
especially because I'm always at the front with the live stream, and I'm always seeing the huge handfuls that everyone's throwing out. I'm like, they're going to be out of candy by the time they turn the corner.
That's a rookie mistake, yeah.
Were there any other events?
Well, we've got Buckner Fest coming up in June. That's the second Saturday in June. That's out at Buckner Park. That's a great event for families and kind of the kickoff to the summer reading program. We partner with the library on that one. We've got cows out there. There's free ice cream, and it's just a great way to kick off summer. And then you can head over to the pool and swim that day.
Yeah.
Unlocked is coming back this fall. That's another great event. We're doing that every other year. You get to see kind of behind the scenes in some of the businesses in the city. Stepping back just a little bit, there's beer gardens. We'll be running those again in August and early September. And that's our lead up to our Oktoberfest event in Frame Park. So we've got some great things planned for Oktoberfest this year. I've got a band coming in. They're actually from Canada. And there'll be a new addition for us. And we'll also have the Glockenspiel.
Very fun.
Are you familiar with what that is?
I'm not. I'm familiar with the instrument. I don't know if I'm familiar with
So this is a live glockenspiel, and it's a large cuckoo clock, like imagine semi-truck size.
Oh, very, very, very cool.
And on the hour, we'll have some performers come out and act out the cuckoo clock. So
that sounds fantastic.
It's kind of
really
fun.
Cool. Yeah. Does that go all 24 hours?
No.
It'll be a tough ask.
It'll be a few hours. They will need to take a break, but it'll be a few hours over the course of the weekend.
Well, that'd be really cool.
Yeah.
And then going back to the neighborhood beer gardens, there is the beer garden 5K run walk and 1K kids walk as well.
Yes, that'll be at the Rivers Crossing Beer Garden. It's the park is just set up really well for the 5K. They'll run through Rivers Crossing Park and then head over to the county park across the river road and then come back. And it's always a great time. Some people dress in their lederhosen and run, so it's lots of fun to watch.
Yeah. I think that's almost all the events that I've seen. So if anyone needs more information about these events, you can visit our website at waukesha-wi.gov/special events. And all these events and more should be listed there. A couple of the events like Oktoberfest and Waukesha Unlocked, there's still some details that are coming out still, and it's still early. I mean, it's April. Yeah, April.
Yeah, it's still early.
So it's still pretty early.
Just get the dates on your calendar.
Yeah, put save the date there. Be sure you're there. It's always lots of fun. I always hear great things about every event. I don't think I've ever heard anyone say, no, that event wasn't worth going to.
No, I mean, especially me as a musician too, how many music things there are. And I mean, I've grown up in Waukesha my whole life. So now because of that, I've made my connections and now I'm able to participate in some of these too. Like I'll also be playing in the
Civic band.
Civic
You'll
band.
be
Yes,
with us.
I always forget what it is.
Yes.
And just being able to then also provide the entertainment and then other days just go and watch the entertainment. It's literally the best time. It's so much fun. It's so entertaining. And I love that it's an opportunity for both sides of the spectrum really to have.
And it's free. I mean, right?
Yeah,
you don't get to
that's the biggest thing.
you can't
There's
go
not many
everywhere
times
free.
you can say like, oh yeah, let's go see this band and not have to pay a cover charge or not have to, bring your own chair, have some fun, meet your neighbors, go with your coworkers. I mean, we've had times where we've said, okay, let's go meet up at, Tribute Tuesday. And we don't have to stay for the whole thing necessarily because everyone's got, they've got their families, they've got obligations, but you hang out with people outside of work for, half hour at a time and have a good time and just, you
could have seen Taylor Swift live in Chicago last year for how much money? Or
too much?
Or you could have came and saw a tribute, which probably would have gotten you at least a very good experience. That was pretty much the same.
That's exactly how we promoted it. If you didn't get tickets, stop over at Cutler Park.
You can pay $20 for Disney Plus, or you can come to Cutler Park
for free.
Yeah.
Right.
And you'll get some fresh air too.
Right.
All right. I want to ask some fun questions now.
Oh,
we got a lot of the business out of the way.
Here we go.
So I'm assuming working in Parks and Rec, you've seen the TV show Parks and Rec.
Once or twice, yes.
So in your opinion, does the TV show kind of accurately describe the life in the Park Rec Forestry Department, or is it completely...
Let's just say art does mimic life sometimes, and I'll just put that mildly. That things, there are some crazy things that do happen in Parks and Rec, and sometimes we just see that, and you got to go with the punches, right? But we definitely have some, I'll say, quote unquote, characters that might fit some of the roles on Parks and Rec, but all great things. I think the one thing that I would really say is, as in the show and our department, you have people that really are committed to the city and work really hard to have a little fun, but really care about the people here, the families, the kids, and older adults that we serve, and just really trying to get people involved. So I would say that is the strongest tie to the Parks and Rec show. But yes, some of those things do happen.
Yeah, a little less chaotic, but not 100% less chaotic is kind of what I'm getting from that.
Right. We're dealing with lots of things and changes and different styles and opinions like everywhere. So, you got to roll with it.
Exactly.
And both directors are named Ron, right?
Yeah.
It just happens to be that way.
This is how it works.
One of my favorite quotes from the show is, "There's nothing no sadness that breakfast can't."
It's true. Breakfast foods are the best way to be happy.
Right. So we do that once in a while.
So what would you say is personally what's the most adventurous thing you've ever done, and would you ever do that adventurous thing again?
I love adventure, so I would say I'd do it again. One of the crazier things I did, we did a 10-mile horseback riding trip, and it was all in the rain, which was
that
challenging.
intentional?
No, but we were heading out and having to camp and set up camp in the rain.
Wow.
And then stay in the rain and then ride back in the morning all wet, another 10 miles back. So that was a pretty big adventure, but fun. And looking back, I guess in the moment, there were moments where, why were we here? But fun things. I love to travel, so any kind of traveling is adventurous. I've been to places like Australia, so it's just cool. Love doing that kind of stuff.
Do you have a favorite destination that you've been to?
Again, I am really easy to please, so anywhere that we can head out and enjoy a different vibe is great to me. I loved Australia. I've been to a couple places in Europe, places in the U.S., fishing in Canada. Like, I love it all. It's really, if I'm somewhere, I'm having fun. That's just the way it's going to be.
It sounds like it, yeah.
So is there any place that you haven't gone that's on your bucket list or that you want to get to?
I'd love to explore Europe a little bit more, go to some more countries there, and just continue to visit cities in the U.S. Just lots, anywhere. Just love to travel.
Do you find yourself to be more of a tourist and visiting the locations, or are you more of a let's get lost and see what's around kind of a? a traveler?
Well, the planning side of me really has to take a look at that. And I have to figure out where I'm going before I get there. But I do like hitting the local dives and things off the beaten path for sure. And talking to the locals and finding out where those places are. So not every moment in my life has to be scheduled, but a good part of it does.
I relate to that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I have Excel documents when I travel of like, okay, here's what we can do. Here's what we want to do. And then everything's kind of itineraried out.
Right.
Yeah. So if you could become an expert in any skill or hobby, what would it be and why?
That would be reading minds. I would love to be able to read people's minds. Sometimes they think you can, and I haven't acquired that skill, but I think it would help with communication sometimes because, you say one thing, but you really mean something else, and I'd love to know what that is some days.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah. And I think you're out of the three people we've talked to, that's the first person that, yep, I got this already. Like,
Yeah, everyone knows how to really think about
like,
it.
What should I do? And like, nope, reading minds.
Yeah.
Makes sense. So before working with Parks and Rec, what's the most unusual or interesting job that you've had before working there or working here?
So I used to be an MLS writer. I used to write copy for realtors who were selling houses. So that was kind of an odd job that I did for a while. And I was also a sport agate clerk. So when Milwaukee had the Sentinel, which was the morning newspaper, I worked at night taking in all the scores, all the box scores for the ball games and the bowling games and the basketball games and doing all of the writing up of the box scores. So kind of an odd thing, but
This makes a lot of sense because I know like if we have stuff that needs to be reviewed or copy, like just making sure that we've got the copy right. I'm always told like going to you is one of the best solutions. It's like, yeah, if you need something just be proofread, checked, anything like that, go to Joanna. She's probably going to be the best source for it.
I love proofreading. I don't know, not everybody does, but I love doing it.
Yeah, the only challenge I enjoy proofreading as well. I just have to find the people. It's like, do you use AP style? Do you use some other style?
Sure.
Because there's times I proofread and I use AP style. So if I'm doing like 8 p.m., it's p.m. versus just p.m. right next to each other.
I'm awful at it. I hate proofreading so much. That's why all the videos I am producing, when I put the captions on it, I send it, and Andrew's always giving me all of my captions that needed to be fixed grammatically or the AP, MLA, whatever style.
We all have our superpowers, right? Just know where to lean.
Proofreading's an acquired taste.
Yeah. So what is something about yourself that people might not know?
I love muscle cars.
Oh, okay.
I got to drive a 1966 Mustang when I was younger with no power steering, and I think that was really hard and really kind of turned me on to cars. So I do love fast cars.
Do you have a particular favorite or like one that like if you could get it affordably that you'd have it in your garage right now?
I've seen lots of people's car collections, so I don't know that I have a favorite. I do have a Challenger that I drive once in a while, so I do enjoy the sound and the speed and just love that.
They've only gotten to drive a Challenger once, and it was just like I did drop my car off. They're like, we only have a Challenger. Is that fine? I'm like, I'm not complaining at all. But they said, watch out. It does feel like it drives really fast. And sure enough, I'm driving to work the next day, and I'm like, I look down, I'm like, oh, I'm going 90. Let's
easy,
ease off a little bit there. But it was fun.
Yeah. I mean, if you're driving a sports car like that and you're not going fast, like, then why do
What's
you even
the
have
point?
it? What's the point?
What's the point?
Yeah.
So it sounds like you love your job, but if you could have another job, other like, anything's the limit, what other job would you love to try?
I always thought that I wanted to be a symphony conductor.
Oh, that'd be fun.
I think that's like the coolest thing. They seem so impassioned by the music, and it's just bringing all of these people together for one common cause. And,
right.
It just looks very cool to me, and I'd love to be able to do that someday.
In a weird way, I feel like it's kind of paralleling your job at the same time. It's like, let's bring a bunch of people together and make them happy by making some sort of beautiful combination of, we brought in the vendors, we brought in the acts, and
Sure.
like it turns into this.
It's my own little symphony.
Yeah,
Yeah, it really
the
is.
concerto of events. Speaking of the concerto of events, so next year is the 40th Jamboree, if I did the number right.
Yes.
Is there anything special planned to mark this milestone?
We are working on it already. I can tell you that we have a committee that works on that, and a committee is across the city, a variety of different organizations that take part in that event. And we've settled on the theme. So the theme will be Gem of a Jamboree, because the 40th is Ruby.
Ruby, yeah.
Yep. So that'll be our theme for this next year.
Why do you know that?
So the last job I had before working here, it was their 40th anniversary, and they did the same thing. Ruby was everything. They changed.
Okay.
They did a little minor rebranding, made everything red and everything. So
I
it's
thought you were
fresh in
going
my
to say
head.
Hallmark or something.
Yeah, work for Hallmark to say, you have to know those going in. It's a test of.
Yeah, no, it's just one of those random facts that I know for no reason at all.
Sounds like a superpower.
Yeah, that is. Except what, 50 is diamond?
Sure.
Is that what it is?
I don't know.
All right. So you
40
just know
is
40,
Ruby,
all
though.
right. Well, that sounds great. I mean, I know people love Jamboree, and that was my yes, I'm Googling information. I'm like, wait, if that was 30, okay, it'll be 40 this year. So yeah,
Right.
just stumbled across that one.
Yeah, it's crazy that it's been going on for so long in the city, and just that is an event that we kind of reinvent every year because we try and theme it. So there are obviously some standards every year, but that's a lot of fun, and we expanded that from 3 days to 10 days a few years ago just to give people a chance to get out and see a little bit more.
Yeah, and I like how it kind of, the first week of events is like, all right, you're mostly focused on Lowell, it seems, at this point, and then let's bring everyone downtown a little bit more with your library events, the ice sculpting.
Yep, get them all through the city.
Yeah.
50th is golden, by the way.
It's gold.
Yeah. 45 is sapphire. I don't know where diamond is.
We may
Oh,
have
diamond
to,
is 10.
Diamond's only 10.
Yeah.
Huh.
we may have to add you to the committee.
Yeah.
I think this is one Google search, and that was the first thing that came up. So I could be wrong.
Well, I've learned something today.
Yes.
Is there an event that you would love Waukesha to host that we currently don't have for whatever reason?
Well, we're always looking for new events, but we have to kind of balance that with what we currently have
Right.
as well. So I'd love to see something that is across the city, bringing in just all areas of the city. So what that might be, I'm not exactly sure. We've talked about a few different events, but it's a balancing act with because there's so much that goes into an event, from the idea to getting the people on board, the sponsorship,
Right.
all of that. So it's something we're always looking at, but I couldn't tell you that we have something on the horizon right now.
Are there any events that we've had in the past that you'd love to see come back with a resurgence of them? Something that's, either not necessarily failed on its own, but it just kind of faded and then hasn't been brought back that you think residents would maybe like to see again?
I can't think of anything like that other than, like the Moving Wall was a great event. The Wounded Warrior amputee softball team was here at some point. So it might be nice to bring some of those things back just for a new group of people to experience.
Right.
Yeah, no, I was also trying to come up with an
Yeah,
answer.
because every now and then you'll hear other events that are going on. Like last year, I just was made aware of the Rotary's Blues Fest, and kind of excited for that one, just because there's a son of a Zydeco player that's going to be at that one. So I'm like, okay, I should probably go take a look at that one.
Sure,
just something a little different.
Right.
So what is the biggest challenge of getting events set up in the city?
I would say the things that are out of our control.
Sure.
So weather is always the big
yeah.
factor. Where most of the events are outdoors, and so that's always something that we have to watch closely. And personally, I hate canceling events because there are so many moving parts to an event. If we're bringing in a band, they may not be available the next time that we want to reschedule. There are contracts involved, vendors, food vendors involved. So it's really things that are out of our control, like the weather. It really makes it tough on us.
Yeah, and it's really bad when you get those days where it's like, oh yeah, there's a 45% chance of thunderstorms. It's like, cool? Do we just wait and see? Do we?
Yeah, I'll knock on wood because something like that we've all seen the weather has been wrong, you know, and that's like the worst thing. You cancel an event and it's great outside and everyone is like, why did you do that?
Yeah. That's always the worst days on social media. It's like, oh, it was sunny like 10 minutes later. Why didn't you just delay? Like, well, you don't know.
Right.
It's better to be safe than sorry instead of having,
course.
2,000 people out at an event. And
Of course.
Yeah.
But then there's, events that we are pretty sure we're not going to be able to pull off. The 4th of July a couple of years ago, we were able to get the parade in, but the fireworks were an absolute no-go. We had 70-mile-an-hour winds predicted and
would have been
sideways
kind of fun,
rain.
but
Yeah. For no one.
yeah, no. Yeah, I remember that year. It's like, yeah, everything's got to get pushed, but everywhere got rearranged. It was always interesting. Like, oh, some people are going next day, some are pushed. Like, I think I appreciate that when we rescheduled it, it was kept in mind of like, well, a lot of communities nearby are doing it tomorrow, or they're doing it really quickly. So let's give people time to adapt, and make sure they've got time and they can allocate that time for it.
And I know it doesn't seem like it, but those are huge decisions because we're bringing in food trucks. Well, the likelihood of them being available the next day, not so much.
Right.
We actually brought in a whole different set of trucks that were not scheduled to be there because the ones that were not available. That year we were in the middle of the week, so like people have to go to work, right? So are they really going to come to the fireworks? So that was a decision that was made to push it to Saturday.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of factors that go in. And then, of course, you're watching the weather. Like the next day after we canceled was bad weather. So we couldn't have gone anyway.
Yeah.
Has there ever been a time where you guys had to reschedule it and it actually ended up working like way better because of it then?
So when we switched the fireworks to that Saturday, we looked at the calendar, and 2 years ago we moved the fireworks to the day before the parade, understanding that most people have off on the 4th of July, and when you're in the middle of the week, if you do them the night of the 4th, a lot of people have to go to work on the 5th. So that kind of worked out for us that year, and now this is our second year going the day before, and I think that's worked out well.
Yeah, I personally like that a lot better too, for that exact reason of like, okay, the fireworks start at 9,
right?
Done by 10, home by 11 if we're lucky with traffic.
Sure. And
that way it's like, okay, I'm not having to wake up in 6 hours for work, but I'm able to ease into the next day, wake up at a reasonable time, get up for the 11 o'clock parade, and still be celebrating. I mean, obviously that's not great for everyone. Everyone wants it to be on the 4th and be as patriotic as possible, but
right.
But then it's nice too, because then if you do have to work the next day, the city at least is not responsible for keeping you up that night with their fireworks.
And I always think it's kind of nice too, because you get to double dip really easily with like, oh, we're gonna go to Waukesha on the 3rd, and then on the 4th you can go to whichever other city, and
sure,
then,
kind of extend your celebration.
Yeah, celebrate America by blowing up a piece of it. That's the motto, right? So one of the last questions we have is, what is your favorite part about working for the city of Waukesha? And then what's your favorite part about working for the Parks, Recreation, and Forestry Department?
So I would say we have really amazing people that work here. With regard to the city, my job tends to touch every department in the city, from getting a street closed to getting a contract approved to making sure that safety protocols are being followed with our police and fire department. It's really great to really connect with everyone in the city when it comes to events, to you guys promoting the events. I mean, it's lots of communication. And then I would say our team is just phenomenal. We have really amazing people that really pour their heart into soul into what we're doing and the events, and love them as much as I do. And, obviously nights and weekends and outside of the schedule of normal work time. So the team is super supportive and just really has fun alongside me and my team when we're working. So it's great. I think the people here are top notch.
Yeah.
I have one final question. We purposely didn't put this on the list or anything too. I have asked this every podcast. This is a more deep thought question. So this is our kind of you able to kind of give some life advice to anyone listening. If you could go back in time and tell your younger self, give your younger self some words of advice or something that you now know now, what would that be?
I would say probably don't take things so seriously. Especially as a young person, everything seems to be just either tragedy or something. You're looking at something through eyes of inexperience, and I think that you just have to take a breath and know and trust that your path is your path, and whatever you're facing that day is really going to get you to the next step. And I think it's important to take all those experiences, good and bad, because they make you who you are and will help you when you get further in your career.
It's a great note to end on, I think.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much, Joanna, for joining us on Talkin' Waukesha. And do you have anything else you want to add or plug before we sign out?
I thank you both. It's been fun. And I would just say get those dates on your calendar and get out to the events and let us know what you love and let us know what you'd like to see.
And what's the best way that they can let you know what they want to see?
They can get to us through the website, I believe. Otherwise, I'll see you out in the park.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And that's a wrap for another episode of Talkin' Waukesha. We hope you enjoyed diving into the heart of our city with us.
If you have a story to share or just want to say hello, reach out to us on social media at City of Waukesha on Facebook. We love hearing from our listeners.
Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and leave a review if you enjoyed the conversation. It really helps us spread the word.
As always, thanks for tuning in to Talkin' Waukesha, where every conversation springs to life.